Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
For the first time in 2 years, 26 of the best open-wheel drivers in sim racing come together to compete for the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series Championship and the $10,000 grand prize that comes along with it. In 10 weeks' time, we find out who walks away a champion.
The wait is over. The most grueling championship in iRacing history is back after a year's absence, and it's the most perfect place to start. The most all-around circuit in the world, and we cannot wait to bring you the action. 23 laps here today, 10 races, 10 weeks, one champion at the end. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing series, and it's here with iRacing. Welcome to the conversation. It's Jake Sperry here, along with Kenneth Bueno and Peter Mackay. Peter, I cannot wait. This is an incredible championship. It is the most amazingly unique car in iRacing history, with probably one of the best track combinations of a championship I've seen in years.
Well, the thing for me, Jake, is that we're really going to find our most complete high-speed single-seater racer on the iRacing platform, because we have 10 rounds, 8 of which are on road courses, but 2 we go to ovals. So being able to have that adaptability between those two skill sets is going to be who comes out on top in this championship.
And Kenneth, we've got new names, we've got old names returning, we've got people who feel like they've got a chip on their shoulder, and those who have battled through everything to qualify themselves into this championship. This is going to be as hard fought as it comes, and possibly the most tactical racing on the service.
It's going to be insanely competitive. It's a refreshed series, and you're right, Jake. We've got some familiar faces from 2021, but we've got a bunch of new ones that we have never seen before take center stage with these IRL1. So it's going to be super exciting to see. And I've been thinking the whole time throughout the offseason, if you would call it that, the JID lyric, in the midst of wind whispers, it's been a very long time, and we're so excited to be back. And we're going to have 8 nations represented, Jake, throughout this entire 2023 schedule. And just like Peter alluded to, road courses, ovals, you name it, a bunch of fantastic circuits, and we're ready to tackle them all.
There are 3 places on this calendar, Peter, that I'm looking at this and going, I am super excited. I'm excited to see what Texas Motor Speedway gives as a short track oval. I'm excited to see the brand new Circuit Park Zandvoort in play, brand new to the iRacing service. And I am so excited to see Fuji International Speedway with that incredible long front stretch.
Well, the one I would add into there is the Circuito de Jerez, which is a circuit that's very close to my heart, hugely prominent on two-wheel racing, but of course has great Formula One pedigree as well. And in these highly powered 900 horsepower beasts, it's going to feel like a go-kart track for our drivers.
It absolutely will. And Peter, just let's take a look at what makes this circuit amazing. We've seen it here, we've seen it there, we've seen it everywhere. It's the great all-rounder.
For many, it's the best in the world. The circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, it kind of has a bit of everything. Huge high-speed sections where this Dallara IRA1 can really stretch its legs, but there's some real technical parts to it as well. It's the ultimate driving challenge. It's a beautiful area, and it is so rich in history. Nearly 100 years of racing through the forest here in Belgium, and best of all, fantastic catering. Chips and mayonnaise, I'm in for that.
I think everybody is, and we are going to get ready. This is how they qualified then here. It is Ben Fuller. He is Mr. Open Wheel. He is on pole position. He'll have Manuel Cubo Torres alongside for SDK Gaming. Michele Costantini, many people's favourite to win the title, is starting from 3rd with Florian Lebigra 4th. Carlos Fenollosa in 5th for Altus Engineering, with Marcos Nunez then for VRS, the Virtual Racing School, in 6th position. Behind that, down over, you've got the likes of Simone Maria Marcheno and Eduardo Leo, 7th and 8th. Przemysław Lemonek for Drago in 9th position, and Gail Valero 10th. Tamas Shimon for Veloce next is in 11th, with David Toff there for Arnage Competition in 12th. Chavi Rose has Jakub Maciejewski alongside on row 7, with Michael Janney and Kalen Chin housing 15th and 16th. Daniel Sivishabo starts along with Pablo Espes back there on row 9. The two-way Vickley cars matched with 2 Stormforce gaming machines. Then you've got Jakob Behrens, Jacob Reed, 2 different ways to say Jacob on row 10, with Matt Emery, Jeffrey Decker, Matteo Calistani and Charles Sears there for 499 Racing in 24th position. The last 2 drivers are Jan Hoffman and Jarl Tayen, surprisingly down the order there as 2 teams old and new, BS Plus Competition and Vortex Sim Racing house the back end of this grid. But it's the shortest run of the season, with maybe Belle Isle being close here towards turn 1. This is going to be a frantic start to the race. The last horse hairpin and then the climb up Eau Rouge and Radion, and the main drafting opportunity today, the Kemmel Straight, as they all run towards Lake Coombe. That's going to be what's on their mind. Who is going to give themselves a monument on a circuit so close to the Liège-Bastogne-Liège route? We're going to get ourselves ready. 23 laps, 1 pit stop in on the books, and let's get ourselves then ready for action here today. This is Spa. This is perfection, and lights are on and lights are out. We are underway here at Spa, and it's already an incredible start. There's contact in the middle between the 2 Altus Engineering cars, and one's gone straight over the top then as they head towards La Source. Got another spinner there in the middle of the field from about 6th position, but it's clean off of the front. Ben Fuller with the start that he hoped for, and has teammate Michele Costantini along for company Kenneth.
And we saw Simone Maria Marcheno go on the outside of his teammate there in Fenollosa, but Fenollosa was still getting underway.
Oh, wow. They
make contact, another spinner. That's Torres there in the middle of the field, and huge carnage, Jake, before we even get to Lacombe on the first lap.
And that will be Manuel Cubo Torres out of the race and on the opening lap. Simone Maria Marcheno out. Charles Sears out. Looks like Jacob Reed has been caught out in it, as well as Eduardo Leo. So a frantic start then to this race, but down the hill and into the middle sector for the first time. Peter, it's about setting a rhythm early, and that rhythm has been interrupted for a lot of the middle of the field.
absolutely chaotic start, but the upside is it's an absolute dreamland start for Apex Racing Team, with Ben Fuller and Michele Costantini leading away at the front. Florian Lebiger holding on to third, but it looks like Ben Fuller and Costantini, his teammate, have both started on the soft tyre, so they have to make a breakaway at the moment.
They have to make that break, and they are doing so fantastically. That gap already up to 1.4 seconds here, Kenneth, on this opening lap. And you talk about I would say, the rubber band snapping. It snaps at about 1.5 seconds. And this is where Marcos Nunez here for Virtual Racing School has to work hard to stay with these two, Fuller and Costantini.
And Nunez is on a redemption tour here in this 2023 edition of the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series, because he was here in 2021 when we raced all the way back then, but he finished 19th in the standings, now looking for a way better season, and it's a really good start. 4th place at the moment, still trying to hang on. He still has Florian Lebiger up in the front, and draft is going to be oh so important here, Jake, at a track where you're going up the Eau Rouge, going up the Radillon, and you've got the Camel Straight here, all full throttle with the amount of downforce, and Nunez is going to look for the pass on third.
He is, as well as the pass for the race lead, which you see on screen with Michele Costantini taking a stint at the front as he goes forward. Let's take a look back at the start of this race. An incredibly chaotic start to your Turn Racing Grand Prix Series, and this is where it happens. It happens with the two Altus Engineering cars, and that's just a little bit too aggressive here on the opening start of this race. And look at how it continues as it goes down the straight here, Peter.
Oh, that is about as worst the start of the season as you can possibly get for Altus there. Two teammates colliding and triggering an enormous accident. And again, we have more problems. The SDK gaming car losing it on the Kemmel straight. That's the 6 car there of Manuel Cubo Torres. What a disaster for so many drivers. Not the way you want to start off this 10-round season.
No, absolutely not. And Kenneth, I think what was really important as Costantini and Fuller looked to break away at the front of the field was the way that Manuel Cubo Torres' incident happened. It was all about Florian Lebiger there, who got himself a little bit too close on that Kemmel straight, and that's the reason why he ran out of road and ran into the back of the car in front.
And when you have a situation like that, you're running in that position, Jake, you're going to slow down, you're going to lose that amount of time, and that's why you see this huge gap between Michele Costantini, Ben Fuller, and everybody else. As you watch Michele Costantini, fastest lap so far, leading this race. They've got a good gap, and they've got a lot of space to work with.
Not just a good gap, I would say a great gap, and that fastest lap is going to be crucial over the course of this season. You get an extra championship point for it. 25 points for a race win, 21 for second, and 18 points for third. There is the change of position, as well as the race on for third, as Marcos Nunez now will take a turn on the front, and now he got 3 in the party because Xavi Rose has found himself through, who can be a powder keg of a driver when he chooses to be. He is absolutely incredible on his day, Peter.
And you made the reference to the Bastogne-Liège cycling race here, Jake. I tell you what, there's always one driver here who has to be the domestique and pull the train along, but everyone kind of taking a turn in these little mini groups we're seeing. The reason for that is the slipstream is quite strong in these cars, and the amount of fuel used over a stint is very important as well with the mandatory pit stop. So if you can get a slipstream from the car in front, you can save fuel and make it just a little bit easier. But you should see the groups actually working together to move their way further up the order in the overall race.
Yeah, they certainly will. Matt Emery having a good run here. Started in 21st position on the grid and now finds himself in 9th place in this one. He has gained 12 places off the start. He is absolutely flying, going away through from Nutfield in the United Kingdom, just south on the M25 as he now looks to really challenge. And here's the sort of driver who has been one of the stalwarts when it's come to that Veloce team, a team which many people thought when it came into sim racing, Kenneth, said, oh, this is just going to be effectively a parade style team that's going to put all the effort in, have a massive noise and not really do much. No, Veloce are so strong as a team.
And they've been very collectively cohesive, and that's what's part of their strength and performing well right now. I mean, Emery, you mentioned it, 21st to 9th, the product of getting away from all of the crashing early on in lap number 1, but if you can survive and keep those wheels on the racetrack, you're going to be strong regardless, and we're excited to see what Matt Emery and Veloce Vex overall as a team can perform in 2023's edition of this series. You ride on board here with Xavi Ros in the number 04 from Barcelona, Spain, still trying to hang on from the two in front, Lebigre and Nunez. I think Nunez, Jake, also got that spot to third, so the 7 car moves up into the podium.
Yeah, definitely has done and is doing a good job. This is a driver's eye view here with Xavi Ros, and the sort of view that you could have yourself if you sign up onto iRacing today. You can log on and start your iRacing journey as quickly as you possibly can with us. But this is a very, very crucial phase of the race. We're on lap 4 of 23, heading towards lap 5, and we talk about it being crucial because this is where drivers are going to start settling down here, Peter. They're going to start thinking about the fuel game over the course of the racing that they have to do, and that fuel is crucial because an extra lap's worth of fuel could be massive. You are losing, I think, somewhere up to 0.8 of a litre over the course of a lap by being left to hang out at the front of the field.
A huge difference, that's for certain, and we have to keep a very close eye on the two leading Apex Racing cars here in first and second in the race, because they've started on the soft tyre. They need to really put a huge amount of time into the chasing pack right now, because they will need to change to either medium or the hard compound when they come in for their stop. So we could actually even see the Apex Racing team come in earlier than everybody else. They're doing a really good job of coordinating with one another, both Ben Fuller and Michele Costantini taking turns of being at the front of this little 2-car group that they've made. And we've seen this before with Apex Racing in endurance races. We saw it at Daytona in the iRacing special event this year, them actually bump drafting each other down the straight for nearly 24 hours solid.
Well, if you've got that ability to drive in that sort of style, that is brilliant. There are your top two. Ben Fuller, Mr. Open Wheel. Anytime he is in open wheel, he's incredible. And Michele Costantini, who I think is the driver most suited, Kenneth, in this championship to the style of format that there is. With 8 road races and 2 oval races, I think this is perfectly in Michele Costantini's wheelhouse.
Yeah, Costantini seems to be the best well-rounded driver with the schedule given to him. And we were talking about it pre-race, you and I, the fact that Ben Fuller and Michele Costantini, two of the Apex cars, they were sort of the third fiddle to guys like Johan Hart, Martin van Lozenorde, and the eventual champion Peter Berryman. They had solid seasons, but it was really nothing to write home about because they had such strong competition of those drivers with them. But now, since Berryman, van Lozenorde, and Hart aren't in the series this year, it's blown the door wide open for Costantini and Fuller to take full advantage of the opportunity and go out for the championship.
There's a couple of Stormforce Gaming cars that absolutely want to get through here on the SDK gaming machine just in front. You've got a race on top for the lead. You've got a race on the bottom for 6th position. And one of the big keys here will be how the likes of Gail Valero will be able to continue to hold back both Michael Janney and Daniel Civi-Chavo here. Those two are going to want to put a lot of work in, try and get themselves through. There's another change up on the top end of the screen as now back into the race lead will go Michele Costantini, and on as well for third as now it's Xavi Ros, who will take some time at the front of this chase pack trying to keep himself in play. And we might start to think about drivers here, Peter, thinking about an early pit stop. You expect maybe 8 laps is the earliest you can go in just by the limitations of the fuel tank.
That's correct. We believe that the fuel stint to be 15 laps, give or take 1 or 2 either way. So we are getting towards that window. And if you're on the soft tyre, we think that might be all that you can get out of the tyre anyway. So perhaps that's the way that Costantini and Fuller have looked at this, going, we do a sprint on softs to start with and then go on the hard tyre for the long run to the flag. So let's see. Right now, Costantini and Fuller still have the lap time advantage. They're lapping quicker than those chasing, but that crossover point will come really quickly.
It will, and I think what's telling right now is what tyre is Michele Costantini on, and I believe he is on the soft, and on the medium is Ben Fuller, so that might be advantage Ben at this moment in time. But in this race on the 3rd position, almost everybody who is still in this race is on a medium compound tyre, and it is the perfect tyre in terms of how this race is going to be constructed, Kenneth, over the season, because it's not going to degrade quickly, this medium tyre. It has just got the right amount of pace and durability to work for this sort of format.
it seems to be a happy medium, and when we saw the series play out in 2021, that medium tire was in conversation every single race just because of its reliability and usability from everyone in the field. And it's surprising to see that these two leaders probably aren't pushing us hard on the soft tires, but that they took soft tires regardless. So they're going to have to play a different strategy than everyone else around them, most notably these three that are sitting in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, maybe even 6th place if you count Valero and the company behind him. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Apex Racing tries to play this with the degradation in tire that they're going to have to suffer as these laps wind down.
You'd say that advantage Ben Fuller in this race is just there going through that section of road. Marcos Nunez through that section was very much in a case of using all of his road tap as they go through. You've now got 10th, 11th, and 12th positions here. Tamas Shimon, David Toth, and Jakob Behrens here, all looking to try to make progress. And these top 10 positions, this is basically a race on for how many points can you get. They're racing effectively right now, Peter, for 6 championship points here.
But they'll all count. There's going to be times where the night doesn't go quite your way and you've got to fight back and you've got to just accept the points you're going to get. So every single point is going to count across this 10-round championship. Just had a check on Ben Fuller. He's on the soft tire as well, the red wall tire. So the two leading cars, Fuller and Costantini, they're both on the red wall soft right now.
Yeah, they're both on that red wall soft. So they've gone aggressive on that strategy, which is why they've been able to build that gap. And when everyone else goes on the soft, this is where the game gets played. Marcos Nunez, Xabi Rose, Florian Labigra, have they got enough to chase down a medium compound tyre? I would say the fact that they are within 3.5 seconds, they really do have an opportunity to make that happen here, Kenneth. It's just a question of what can you do? Here comes the move from Xabi Rose. He makes the pass then on Marcos Nunez's VRS car, and the virtual racing school car has to stay in line. The man from Carmona, not a million miles away from Barcelona, is going to have to say, you know what, through you go.
He's going to let him by and not give him that much resistance. But to your point about Fuller and Costantini, their gap is around 3.1, 3.2 seconds to these three, third on back. But you can also consider the fact that the top two have been saving, right? They've had such a huge gap to everyone behind them that they've had a little leeway, some elbow room, if you will, to save a bit, not be pushing as hard, and try to outlast everybody. Even with the softer tires, they can try to go a little bit longer if they don't push it all too much. They just want to make sure that they don't get too complacent and that everybody else starts to take advantage. But 3 seconds is definitely good enough for Xabi Ross and company, third on back, to be able to make something happen alternatively on strategy. And as we work towards lap number 10, we're getting a little bit closer, and that window is going to be opening rather soon.
Yes, 19 drivers currently still circulating around the circuit. Your retirees so far: Pablo Espes, Jakub Maciejewski, and round goes Ben Fuller. Fuller's gone around then, down into the pit, and just like that, in comes Michele Costantini, but Ben Fuller with a huge mistake coming into the pits and a free kick to the Italian.
I think that was there was definitely a problem there going through that. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, you're right, Jake. Costantini getting involved in that with Fuller, and yeah, they were definitely at the edge of what the soft tire could give. They were losing time on those last 2 laps to Nunez, Labiga, etc. So, could that really spice up this race here?
It really could, and look at how they flow through. There's traffic through the middle. They've all had to go through. Florian Labigra not lifting for anything. He's going to take his stint then at the front of this pack, and these are the crucial 3 laps where these three have to be at their most coordinated because they know that the drivers behind are going to push. But there is also that sense that an overcut might be better here than an undercut. As Kenneth, we take a look at what happened to Ben Fuller.
And we'll see what happened here with Fuller, and this is a rare mistake off the race leader. You would not expect Fuller to be put in that situation. Might have been the way he attacked the curb right there. Final chicane, car slips around. Costantini almost makes the contact with his Apex Racing teammate. It's a harmless spin for Fuller in terms of damage, but it is absolutely harmful if we're talking about the position and track position that he's going to have to lose based on that mistake as everybody continues to stay out.
the man from Indianapolis, finds out just how difficult this track can be, and it is the most lackadaisical spin I think he's had. He's done that in his sleep, and he'll be so frustrated with it. 1, 2, and 3. 1 in, 2 stay out. So Florian Lebigra there made that power move, Peter, just to try and get track position for the pit stop.
Yeah, great stuff there from Florian Lebigra, and Ben Fuller giving us a pretty graphic demonstration of how difficult these Dallara IRL1 machines are to drive at slow speed. He was slipping and sliding like he was on ice there, trying to get into pits. These cars just have so much power and torque that you've got to have them in so much higher gear than you would ultimately think, or be so soft on the throttle. Otherwise, you can just loop it from a standstill.
You really can. And I tell you what is actually crucial. Florian Lebigra has come out ahead of Michele Costantini. So Lebigra, with an absolutely beautiful stop, has got himself the track position and is your net race leader. So these two, Marcos Nunez and Xavi Rose, these two Spaniards, one from near Seville, one from Barcelona, are now fighting it out then for the race lead effectively, with one man from Bordeaux finding himself in the net race lead, Kenneth.
And it's also interesting to note that Costantini did take soft red wall tires on that pit stop. So he did not go for the mediums nor the hards. He wanted to keep it soft all the way through. And it's a rather unique call, lap 10. You'd probably think that he would at least go for the mediums, outlast it a little longer. But no, he is trying to go for speed, and speed only on this short run. He's about a second and a half off of Lebigra's number 2. So we'll see if that starts to chip down as Lebigra continues to put in laps.
I wonder if Costantini's made a mistake there as he goes through. He's actually on the medium tyres, so he's going to be okay as he gets himself through. So he'll be okay. But Xavi Rose now, the 04, up against the 7 in the virtual racing school colours. These two are going to go for a more traditional stop. They're looking at their overcut and maybe trying to get themselves over halfway. I would expect maybe here, Peter, lap 13 would be the best time for these drivers to think about making their stop, because they know how important it is. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this party, I wouldn't take out of the conversation Gail Valero, Michael Janney, Daniel Civi-Chabo, and Matt Emery. They have been in lockstep and not battling. Into the pits comes both Projet Michoir Lemonec and Jeffrey Decker.
Yeah, I wonder what the ideal tyre strategy is going to be, and indeed if you've got the fuel right as well, being able to save enough and maintain the pace. To Kenny's point, a very similar thing as well. Look like Ben Fuller and Michele Costantini are still on a red soft tyre, which I believe is against the rules. I believe they do have to do a compound swap. So... Right. Question mark there.
I've got it here down that they're on mediums at this point, so they should be okay with their strategy to go onto a medium and go out there and attack. So they should be fine from where they are at this point here. But Peter, back to your point, you know, you're looking at where they are in the race. People are making their decisions early. We're now in the mid-phase.
That we are, yes, that we are, and you've got to stick kind of, unless it went really badly wrong at the start of the race, you kind of got to stick to the plan. Michael Yanni at the moment, he's on the mediums, man from Moncton in Maryland, and coming up through towards Blanchimont, which in the old days this used to be a really big guts corner, and these cars is absolutely flat out, easy flat in 7th gear, and then you got to get it slowed down at the bus stop here. Good fuel saving opportunity there as 2 more takers to pit lane. Who have we got?
We got 5
2
takers in the lane. So that's pretty much everyone except Matt Emery decides to jump into the pits. And Kenneth, this is huge. This is the make or break of the race.
It is, and for Emery, he's going to need some perfect laps if he wants to stay up in front, and he needs to make sure he doesn't lose that much time to all of these guys that are going to come out now, the former race leaders, and of course, you think about Costantini, Florian Lebigra, and all of those who have already pitted and are now gaining the track position. So Emery trying to be the lone one out on this strategy, and as everybody else comes in, Xavi Rose comes in right out ahead of Michele Costantini. They're going side by side. Nero Rouge, Marcos Nunez not too far behind either.
This is brilliant. There is Matt Emery. He is your race leader. They are fighting about now for places. They know how crucial this part of the race is. Lebigra has built his advantage, but Matt Emery will know that this is a big stop. In terms of the group, he was the one on the back of the train here, Peter. He was saving the most fuel of anyone. He'll have the most license to attack. when he goes through into the final stage of the race. He knows above anything else that his Veloce Vexed car is going to be in the best place compared to everyone else, and it's both Veloce cars who have stayed out the longest.
And it's a big push now on this in-lap Sebastian Vettel style, and very, very important because you've got the clean air in front of you. Okay, you won't get the slipstream up the straight, but through the corners, really, really go for it with the car on very, very low fuel. And we'll see if Matt Emery and the Veloce crew have got this right. And you can also be quite tactical with the iRacing incident points. You get 1 incident point for every break of track limits. They get a warning after 17, and Emery's going for 2 more. So interestingly, you get a warning at every 17 incident point limits, drive through after 25, so you can be tactical with those breaks of track limits.
And here comes the look then, as they now, contact there between Costantini and Xabi Rose. They're tangling over the wheels. Xabi refusing to let go, but Costantini just about holds. Gail Valero now looks to try and challenge through and go on the outside. He takes the position, and suddenly it's rush hour as they now charge down Eau Rouge and heading up, or down to Eau Rouge, I should say. But all of a sudden, it's a Bordeaux 1-2.
And Valero, the French driver, immediately took advantage of that situation. A 6-car pack going up Eau Rouge and up the hill to the Camel Straight and Lacombe. It was an absolute stunner of contact between Michele Costantini and Xabi Rose. I'm sure that Rose is not happy about the bit of contact there on that final chicane. Now he's trapped in 6. Nunez and Costantini are holding up this line, and you've got both, and I mean both of the Storm Force cars right behind this in Civichabo and Michael Janney. So this is going to get really fun with 10 to go.
Marcos Nunez did nothing wrong in that incident. He tried to take the outside line and let the incident unfold there, Peter. But the issue that he had was Gail Valero was just going to pin the foot down to the throttle and go for it. And that's why he's gained 3 places and Nunez has only really gained 1. And Costantini will be struggling on that medium. Look at how everybody is pretty much bottlenecked at this point.
Michele Costantini going very, very defensive there into Fagnes and holding off the rest of the chasing pack. But yeah, very rarely do we say Michele Costantini is looking vulnerable here.
Yeah, so that's what they're racing for. Matt Emery's going to take another lap here and will gain places all the while as these drivers scrap it out side by side through Blanchimont between Costantini and, as well as that, Xabi Rose. Through on the inside will go to Storm Force Gaming car of Daniel Civichabo. No argument about that. And I wonder how much of Michele Costantini here is walking wounded here. This will be his real fight, his crux on the opening race of the season. He will have to fight hard through the remaining 9 races of this one to get this all sorted, as they will go back up the hill and realize that all of that battling over to Florian Lebigra has cost them 4 seconds.
And every single race is going to matter. You've only got 10 of them. You don't have more. So you're really going to have to take advantage of what's given to you. And look at this battle between Costantini and Xabi Rose. They're going to go through Blanchimont, go up the final chicane, and the contact is going to be made right here on the same part of the track where Ben Fuller went around. You see the bit of contact once, twice, 3 times, banging wheels, and then brings everybody else into the party. And I'm sure Costantini, Jake, did not want to see that happen at all. He was playing a very careful race, a very dominant one with his teammate, and now this race is completely ripped open for the Apex Racing team.
It has. They had complete control of this race, and if they're going to come out of it with 7th and 8th positions, they're going to turn around at each other and go, well, what happened there at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps? They'll have a lot of work to do when they get over to Jerez 1 week from today. Matt Emery is due as due can be. Will he be looking down for the pits? No, he will use the entire tank. He'll go to his 15th lap here, Peter, on this stint, and he is losing hand over fist levels of time at the moment. I believe he did a 46.8 on that last lap, and you look over to Florian Lebiga, who's just crossed the line now. He's done a 45.2. He's losing 1.6 seconds a lap.
And he's lost that for the last 3 laps, so going long doesn't appear to be working for Matt Emery. He can do the pace. His best lap is a 1:45 flat, which is only a 10th.5 off Lebiga's best, so he does have the pace, but this appears to be a strategical miscue for Matt Emery. So really your net leader right now is Florian Lebiga, who looks in pole position at the moment with 9 laps to go, 3-second lead. That was the commanding position that the Apex cars had early on in the race, but right now Florian Lebiger, the privateer, don't forget, formerly of R8G, we could have our first privateer winner in the Turn Grand Prix Racing Series.
We absolutely could. And Marcos Nunez there just making the pass in front of Chabi Rose with the perfect view for us on board with the Stormforce gaming car of Daniel Sibi Chabo. The man from Pamaz is now looking around and going, well, what do I need to do to move up these extra places? And when you're counting down the laps here at the circuit Spa-Francorchamps, all 7 kilometers and 4 meters of it, Kenneth, you are thinking about one thing and one thing only. Where am I on the Camel on the last lap?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, this car, and especially with this track, it's so dependent on the draft. And we talked about it pre-race at places like Pocono. You can be the 4th or 5th car and still storm up to the front on the last corner, last lap, and go for the win. You need to find yourself in the right position at the right time. And speaking of position, Emery's going to lose a bunch of it. Lebigra is going to take over the race lead with 8 laps to go. Emery finally getting into pit lane on the latest call out of anyone in the field.
80 kilometers an hour, finds his box, will take tires, will take fuel, and will go once again. Florian Lebigra then will take control of the race lead. He's 3.7 to the good on the SDK gaming car, being piloted by number 33, Gael Valero. From the center of Bordeaux is Florian Lebigra. From the outskirts of Bordeaux is Gael Valero. He comes from an absolutely brilliant section of that Bordeaux section of the country. He comes from the suburb then of Pessac. Up the hill, this is going to be the Arnage competition car then trying to find a pass. And has he got anything then? Has David Toff to get himself through? This is on Jakob Behrens, and Behrens has to fall back into line. There's not much that number 90 can do at this point in time, Peter.
No, they look like really good straight line speed there for the Arnage competition car, despite the effective draft, etc. So hangs on for now and gets, very good racing there from those two. And I have to say, Lebigra appears to have played this one right. He's on the hard tyre at the moment for that second stint, and that is really going to give him that speed all the way through to the end of the race by the looks of things. But the recovering number 04 car of Xavi Ross, running wounded, we think, but at the moment hanging on to a podium position, which I think in the circumstances would be good.
I tell you what, for more information on how to start your iRacing career, you can log on to iRacing.com today. Get a piece of this action, and one day you might be tussling it out just like this. There are races happening every single time you go out there and have some incredible racing action to go and get yourself in. Jump on now and start your iRacing journey with us. Chabi Rose, lest we forget, started back in 13th position on the grid. You've got Daniel Sibi Chabo, who's there in 5th, who started 17th. And Matt Emery, who is in 7th place at this moment in time, Kenneth, started all the way back on the final row, or one of the final rows of the grid, in 21st position. There have been some incredible drives up through this field today.
It's a total of 5 drivers, Jake, that started this race outside of the top 10 that are currently in the top 10 as we get closer to 6 laps to go. And here comes Nunez striking on the outside for the Camel straight. Rosa's going to get right to the rear wing, but to no avail. And they're going to reel in that Stormforce CV Chabo machine, the 16 car. But yeah, we've seen a lot of progression throughout the field. And part of that was the product of the crashes we saw early on, right? The huge carnage that happened before we even got to turn 1 on lap 1, and then the spin there by Cubo Torres there on the Camel straight allowed so many drivers to pick up easy spots by keeping it clean and then pick up strategy as well. These drivers have done a masterful job of gaining well-needed points and setting the tone in this first race.
Yeah, that tone is crucial. I think Gael Valero as well is slowly starting to reel in Florian Lebigra for this race lead. Now, we know how Lebigra got a huge jump here, Peter, on everybody else in the pit stop. I wonder if he slightly underfueled the car to try and do it, to try and give himself that gap.
I think you could be right, Jake, yes, because last time around, Gael Valero was 0.7 of a second quicker than Lebigra, and it was more to do with Lebigra's pace dropping off rather than a big charge from Valero. We'll see when they come over the line who's looking good after this next lap. It'll be 7 laps to go. Lebigra 1:45.9 last time Around. Oh, contact. Behrens off.
Yeah, it's the IGL Coatings e-racing car of Jakob Behrens, and I tell you what, there would have been eyes pretty much covered by his team boss Kjetil Larsen, who would have not been too pleased to see one Mr. Jakob Behrens drop a couple of positions there. One to Przemysław Lemonek in the Drago racing car, and the other one to Tamas Simon out there racing. This is an incredible little group racing for 9th position, and all of a sudden, here comes Przemysław on the outside, looking to take the places. Where do you look to find your passes? At the moment, it's dual carriageway style racing.
And they were side by side, 2 rows deep. Lemonek being able to make that pass. And we mentioned it a little earlier on in the show, Jake, about how every single point matters. This is going to be for 7 championship points in race number 1. And there's about 4 or 5 drivers, this is 4 actually, making their way for that position. So it is absolutely crucial between all of them to make the most of what they're given in this scenario. And Lemonek, and he's been on a charge. Although he did make that contact with Behrens, he has been on a flyer as of late. This is the right pace you need in the closing laps of the event.
Yeah, you've got on the top of your screen 3rd place and Chabi Rose holding off Marcos Nunez. You've got at the moment there Przemysław Lemonek and David Top in their race for what is now 9th and 10th places. They know how important every point is going to be, and you have to bank them because you know how easy it is to find a retirement, to find yourself outside the top 15 and not finding the points that are oh so crucial to put together a fantastic season. On the rush now towards the La Source hairpin, which connects the town of Spa with Stavelot, of course, where they've come from, and over towards the small town, Peter, of Francorchamps up the hill.
It's just an iconic place in every possible way. The old Spa was one of the most terrifying circuits in the world. The qualifying speed for the 1967 Grand Prix here, over 150 miles an hour. So, but this new version, or newish version, is obviously still very fast indeed. The gap is coming down quick at the front of the field. Gael Valero has been pulling out the last 3 laps, 0.8 of a second, 0.7 of a second, and 0.6 of a second over the last 3 laps. So he is chasing down, and it won't be long before Valero starts to pick up some slipstream from Labigra, and that is when Labigra is in big trouble.
But Kenneth, Chabi Rose was half a second faster than Valero that last lap through. They're in draft range, and they are just as much that group 3rd, 4th, and 5th in this race for the victory.
Half a second is the prime targeting position for at least distance between cars for you to get a lot of draft and stay with the man in front of you. And they're keeping pace with Marcos Nunez, and he is closing in about 1.1 seconds, almost 1 second flat between himself and Valero. But the good thing for all of these drivers is that they're all kind of like Mr. Incredible. They've got time. They've got around 5 or so laps to go. It's a rather big circuit here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and these drivers are going to do all that they can to get as much time as possible. And I figure if you're Florian Lebigra right now, you're looking in your rearview mirror and you're starting to panic just a little bit, because it's not only just Valero, it's Nunez, Ross, Civichabo, and a host of other drivers there too.
Matt Emery, you can put in that as well, in 6th position, who will have the freshest tyres of anybody to go out there and try and make this race happen. This is a truly important phase, and Matt Emery might be playing himself into a mastery of a move here, Peter, but the issue he's got is he's got to run the gauntlet. He's got to get by everyone.
Well, the thing that Matt Emery has in his favour, that he has by far the best tyre. Curiously, he's gone on the hard tyres for his sprint to the end, for the 8-lap sprint to the end. So interesting stuff there from Emery. But whatever the case, he's got fresher tyres than those ahead of him, who in turn are chasing down the podium positions. So let's keep a close eye on the 34 of Matt Emery.
Yep, and 2 jump the train. Chabi Rose to the front, Daniel Civichabo in second. Little look there, isn't quite going to manage it, so the patience is going to have to continue in terms of how they go. 1 point or 2.6 behind the leaders at this point. It's down to 1.3 at the front here, and Lebigra gets a little bit of a kick, a little bit of an advantage through the middle sector of the lap. He's a little bit more comfortable here on the long straights. That's Kenneth, where he gets reeled back in.
That's exactly where Lebigra can sort of seesaw this gap with Valero, but he's still losing time in the long run, and that is going to be the biggest crutch for Lebigra if he wants to hold on, because as soon as Valero gets within half a second, that race is going to be up in the stratosphere. There's going to be no convincing leader or winner up until we get to that checkered flag. And to touch on what Peter said about Matt Emery, he did choose the hard tire for this 8-lap sprint to the finish, but does that give him a little more incentive to push harder just because this tire has a little more durability than all the mediums that are around him? He's going to make this move on Xavi Ros for P5.
Oh, they're going to start battling, and they almost go tire to tire, they do. And it's going to be Matt Emery who ends up sliding along the front stretch and into the last source hairpin. Xavi Ros will hold on to that position as forcefully as possible. And now it becomes a game of 5 at the front with 3 laps to go. It's 1.2 seconds. Florian Lebigre must hold the weight of the world behind him, Peter.
Well, he's doing his very best to stem the bleeding right now. It was just 0.2 of a second quicker in the favour of Valero last time by. So if Lebigre can keep that delta in gap in time between Valero and Lebigre, that will be enough to get the win just. But Valero really is on a charge right now.
Ben Fuller and group, Michele Costantini is being swarmed because they've been caught here. Przemysław Lemonek has caught the group. David Topp has caught the group, and they continue to tumble here, the Apex Racing cars, and they are going to be looking around at each other, maybe looking for a bit of help from team boss Alex Simpson, going, what went wrong? We need to figure and diagnose this, because this just did not play ball in terms of the way they wanted this race to go. They did not expect, after holding a 4-second lead at the start of this race, Kenneth, to be down by 10.
They have to troop on to Jerez now if they want to have a chance at least at a race win in race number 2. But you've made your bed, you have to lie in it. And the Indiana native Ben Fuller is going to do all that he can to play defense, but it won't matter. Przemysław Lemonek is going to slot through to 7th as we continue to watch the battle developing with Lemonek up at the front, the 4 cars behind. And now Apex Racing putting David Topp in a sandwich. Lemonek up to 7th, the highest he's run all race long.
Brilliant work from the pole from Kamionka. He has now moved up into 7th position, and that has been an incredible bit of recovery from the Drago team as they now know how crucial these points are going to be. Up the hill for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Xavi Ros on the back of Nunez, on the back of Daniel Sibi-Szabo. Szabo is going to now lose that position there once, and he might lose another here on the brakes. Yes, Xavi Ros will make that pass, will slide around the outside and take that position, but Lebigre is agonizingly holding off Gael Valero at 1.1 seconds here, Peter. This is so frustrating at the front.
Oh, so tight. Lebigre, you've got to actually say, oh, hip check there, and Fuller off the road.
And to the back of the line you go. He will now fall behind Tamas Simon. Not the plan that was expected. And Ben Fuller's day goes from bad to downright catastrophic, Kenneth.
It's gone from bad to absolutely worse. Super sour here for Ben Fuller, and that little bit of contact sends him off the track, and that's going to give him that little incident point that Peter was alluding to a little earlier on. Now, Fuller has been rather clean throughout this race, but any incident point is one that you're going to be watching for. But he's dropped all the way to 11th. That'll only gain him currently 5 points to the championship compared to all the other drivers that he could have been ahead of had he not made that mistake in the chicane. This race has been awfully unlucky for him as you watch the battle between Nunez, actually that's Ros and Sibi-Szabo, but Ros is going to come in for pit road.
It's incident. He's gone over the instant limit, and he has to serve a drive-through penalty here on the final lap of the race. His run goes to a very, very sad end as the white flag goes. The gap 0.8 of a second at the front of the field as we focus on what is going on for what is now 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, or 6th down to 10th. At this point as they will crest the rise. It is all going to be about the middle sector to see whether this race is going to go in the hands of one driver from Bordeaux or another. Here comes the look then from 2 drivers up the hill. 2 wide, 2 deep. Lemonek will lose out to David Topp, and there is Tamas Simon making a move, but can he get it to stick against Michele Costantini? No, he can't. He goes around, and just like that, in the barriers goes David Topp on the final lap of the race. There is Florian Lebigre Lebigra. He will know in his Battle of Bordeaux that behind him is Gael Valero, a gale force of a driver who has been proving time and again, I am worth my weight in gold in terms of how I drive. It might just have to come down to the final chicane here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps to sort this season out. Great drive from Lebigra through the campus corner and out then through Curve of Paul Frere. He will now search as he goes out of Stavelot towards the brilliant Blanchimont corner, and he's got himself still about 6 car lengths, and that will close all the while, and it will have to be an absolute send for the heavens from Gael Valero. No way he is close enough. Florian Lebigra will prove that he is absolute money as he wins at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
What a drive. What a drive from Florian Lebigra to hold off that charge from Valero. And what a dramatic start to the season. Marcos Nunez getting the last spot on the podium there after that drive-through penalty from Ross there. Oh dear. But for Apex Racing Team, they're going to be going to bed tonight scratching their heads thinking, what on earth happened there?
Some incredible drives through the field. Some drivers here who are getting a lot. Here comes Michael Janney there for the Stormforce Gaming team, who was up there in the early stages but dropped back considerably to fall back to 15th place. And an incredible showcase of driving has found out just what makes this series so great. You cannot take your eyes away from it, Kenneth, until the very end of these races, because it will close back up.
It's the magic of racing with these IRL1 machines, Jake, is that you can never fully predict how any race is going to end no matter what track you are at. We had that up in the air for a while, and I question as well, Jake, if Valero had an extra lap or so, could that have been the game changer to catch up to Lebigra and make that a two-way fight for the win? But nonetheless, Florian Lebigra with his first career Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing Series win.
The two men from Bordeaux, 1 and 2. Florian Lebigra taking it by 0.6 of a second over Gael Valero. Marcos Nunez, the final driver on the podium. 2 Hungarians, 4th and 5th. Daniel Sibishabo leading ahead. David Toff with Przemysław Lemonek in 6th place. Michele Costantini and Ben Fuller will be scratching their heads 7th and 8th. As you look down the field, the likes there of Matt Emery falling by the wayside late, so too the likes of Xabi Roche. Jan Hoffman was another one who managed to fall way down the order in the late stages as they went through. Matteo Calastari, and maybe a bad day for Fenollosa. Maybe expected a little bit more there. Retirees will include the likes of Manuel Cubo Torres, who had a lot to prove today, and Simone Maria Marchena as well, one of the few drivers who has found himself into the 10K iRacing club at one point. We're going to take a chance now to talk with some of our drivers. Peter Mackay is stood by with your race winner, Florian Lebigra.
Florian, congratulations on that win in the opening round of the season here in the Turn Grand Prix series. Just tell us, first of all, about the strategy, because there was lots of different drivers trying different things. What did you go for on your strategy?
Yeah, the 3 Apex guys in front of me were in soft. So in practice, we saw that, in medium, speeding between lap 9 and 11 was the best strategy. And so that's what I did. I think I put it like lap 10 or something and put hards. I knew that the mediums after lap 10 were a bit slow. And so on the first lap, the hards are slow too. And so I did an early pit, let's say. And I refuel, like, I think it was 5 liters less than what it was needed to finish the race. So I needed to save fuel on the second stint quite a lot. But yeah, we managed it. Gael Valero was catching me a lot. But we did it. That's a win. Happy with it.
You should be very happy. It was an incredible drive. Just tell us about your thoughts on those last 5 or 6 laps when, as you said, Gael was getting closer to you. You're having to save fuel. What were the nerves like at that point, knowing that you couldn't go full pace with the fuel saving?
Well, when I saw that he was 4 seconds behind, I was like, okay, I can lift a lot. And when he was gonna maybe in the draft or just close to me, like push a bit more and save less. And so that's what I did. And in the last few laps, I wasn't saving a lot, like just a few lifting turn 1 and the last chicane, but not much. But yeah, I was trying to stay calm and yeah, keep focused on my driving, and that's it.
Well, a huge congratulations, Florian.
Thank
That
you.
was a fantastic drive, and good luck for the next round.
Thank you. See ya.
And now we move onwards to second place, Gael Valero, the other Frenchman here on this podium. And Gael, I mean, a fantastic job you put up all race long here from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. But talk to us about the way you were trying to catch Le Bigre in those last laps. What did you feel was missing there to get to the win this evening?
That's the difference between P4 and P12. A lot of carnage at the start, and they got just the right group in front. Couldn't quite catch on, despite me trying as much as I could on this medium stint, and then on the hard stint, managed to put away, but I think we both had a little of fuel issue, so that's what ultimately made the difference, that third stint.
And the strategy went your way as well. You had 2 lap fresher tires than Le Bigre. Talk us through the way you were able to manhandle the strategy and get away from some of the hard hitters in this field.
Well, it was well prepared, you know, to have the good tire life in it. Track definitely was a bit tricky. I think you saw it with the soft runners, sadly that they just couldn't make it. Yeah, that's what made the difference in the end, I think. Yeah, and that bit of a cluster, I guess, in the middle that separated everything. Strategy did obviously a part, but a lot of on-track action.
A lot of fun now on the racetrack, and it was so much fun watching you out there ripping this IR01 around Spa for the first race of the season. Gael, on behalf of all of us at the broadcast team, congratulations on P2. We'll see you at Circuito de Jerez in 1 week time.
Gracias.
All right, Gael Valero in the number 33 finishes second. Peter Mackay, you're caught up with the third place finisher, Marcos Nunez.
Marcos, congratulations on getting on the podium in this first round of the season here in the Turn Grand Prix Series. Just tell us about the story of your race.
Yeah, at the start, I survived because of the crashes happened behind me. And later, in front, another crash happened, and we survived also. And from there was a bit of battling. First with Florian, and later we had a lot of draft. But in Jerez, it is difficult to overtake. So I think the most important thing will be the qualify. If we can do a good qualify, I think we can get also a good result.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck next week, Marcos. The home round as well, of course. Good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Was enough to bring it home. Florian Le Bigre will take the championship lead as we head ourselves over to Andalusia.